morning, y'all. It has been a long week since my last show on Thursday. All the craziness going on. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. We did here. The weather wasn't extremely hot, which was nice because usually at this time of year, we're pretty hot here in Arizona already, but we weren't. And a little breeze, and it was a pretty nice day. I spent most of my day, I had grandkids coming over and they requested chicken piccata and homemade focaccia bread. So I was busy doing all that. And then, being the crazy Nana that I am, I decided I make these pressed spritz cookies at Christmas time, and they're almond flavored. But I found this old recipe of my mother's, and it had a recipe for orange spritz cookies. And so I made a batch of those up yesterday. And then I decided, well, I'm going to do Rice Krispie treats because then they can all have some stuff to take home. And then I did this layered pistachio pudding dessert also. So needless to say, I was in the kitchen all day yesterday, just thinking up new things to cook and bake as I'm standing there cleaning up the mess from the previous thing that I had cooked or baked. But anyway, all in all, it was a great day. And I got some tomatoes out of my garden, and the bell peppers are growing, and cucumber plants. I found a way to put some shade cloth up, and so my cucumber plants that would get the afternoon beating sun, between 3 and 5, before the sun went down below the fence line. I was able to get some shade cloth put up, and oh man, that's helping tremendously. So I'm seeing some progress with my cucumber plants, which the past few years, they've done nothing but crinkle up and die by this time of the year. So anyway, praying those keep going forward. And my cantaloupe plant's growing, and I have garlic coming up, and my zucchini plant. I did something different with that this year too, because the zucchini plants, if you don't get a bush type, the binding type, if you let it lay on the ground and as you're watering, the leaves get all weirdo, and it just leaves it susceptible to bugs and stuff getting on there. So anyway, I put a tomato cage around my zucchini plant, and as it grows, I just keep, pulling the leaves through on the different levels. And that's seeming to be very successful this year. So anyway, gardening is a learning experience. Every single year I learn something new, and I've joined a few Facebook gardening pages. So, and it helps when you're conversing with people who are gardening in your own community, because you can go to a zone, like we're in zone 9, but parts of Florida in zone 9, and they have a completely different growing type situation down there with the humidity and the sandy soils. And so it's nice to connect to people who are gardening right here in Phoenix. And it's actually amazing how many people are doing it. I'm surprised, but I did it mainly because I missed it, but then it came to a point, and this is my 3rd year doing it now, but it came to a point that I thought, you know what, if things go off the rails, it's probably going to be a good idea to have these raised beds and to understand the growing seasons here in Phoenix better than I have in the past. So I'm already planning on what I'm going to be planting in the fall, and be able to get that garden up and going. So it's exciting. And I love digging in the dirt and getting connected with Mother Earth, because there's nothing worse than getting discombobulated with politics and all the craziness going on in this world, right? So I was watching before I started the podcast, I was watching Fox News. And of course, on the side, they have updates of what's happening in the courtroom. And I'm finding it a little disgusting with this judge, because he's made it a whole lot easier for these jurors to find, what did it say? Of course, I don't have that up here. Let me see. The judges issued a ruling that could make a guilty verdict easier. Justice Juan Merchan has ruled that the jury does not need to unanimously agree on what predicate crime Trump may have committed. So it's becoming more blatantly obvious every day that goes by, and everything that this judge does, that he's all about finding him guilty. He doesn't care how they go about doing it. He'll bend the rules, he'll change the rules, and help them come to the conclusion that Trump is guilty of something that isn't even a crime. So I find it so interesting that this is even being thrown to the jury at this point, because when Michael Cohen agreed and admitted on the stand last week that he had stolen over $60,000 from the Trump administration, Trump organization, that was a worse crime than what they were charging Trump for, falsifying business records. So this shouldn't even be going to a jury, I don't believe, when you have a star witness who's just admitted that during all of this stuff, he was stealing tens of thousands of dollars from the actual organization and the man that he's up there testifying against. So I can't wait until after this is all over with, because you know, and I know, that Trump is going to be going after Michael Cohen for the money that he admittedly stole from the Trump organization, which, you know, he should be, and he should be thrown back in jail, quite frankly. I don't think that man deserves to be walking out, and he sure as a heck doesn't deserve, Michael Cohen doesn't deserve to be a witness against President Trump, because he is a convicted liar. This is just insane. Good morning, Laura. I'm saying good morning to Laura Bersuto, who is a grandmother, an angel grandmother down in Tucson, Arizona. And just recently, it was the anniversary of the murder of her grandson by an illegal criminal here in Arizona. And she loves him dearly. And it's just not, it's just not right what goes on in this country. I'm going to see real quick if I can pull up the picture. I got to get pull up the picture of Fernando, her grandson, and share this with you. All right, so share. So this was her grandson, Fernando, and he was shot and killed by an illegal alien on May 19th, 2016. So she just recently, Laura, it's been 12 years for you, and no, 8 years. Yeah, because it was 10 years for Brandon, and he was killed in 14. So my heart went out to you that day. You know, I put it on the Angel Family's Facebook page, and I know that you and your husband miss him very, very much. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's terrible to lose a child, but then to go the next generation down and lose a grandchild. I mean, that is just so gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, you know, that these lives of these young men, children, women, girls are cut short because of open borders in the United States, one of the greatest country in the world. To think that we're dealing with this type of thing in this country. So my heart goes out to you, Laura. And I'm just sickened too by all of the illegal crime that I was reading about over the weekend. Well, since Thursday, actually. And it's really, really hard for me, because I don't know where this administration's head is, and where Mayorkas is coming from, and how you have that kooky, idiotic, Robert De Niro standing out in front of a courthouse. They bring, another grumpy old stupid man in from the archives to campaign for Biden today, saying that the crime rates are down, that they shot up during Trump's administration. And it's like, Robert De Niro, you need to go into a nursing home and have medications and something that will shut you up. He is such an evil, hate spewing spawn of the devil. There, that was a good way to describe him, wasn't it? I can't even stand to listen to this man talk. And everything that comes out of his mouth when he's talking about Trump is a lie. And he says that Trump is going to destroy the world. Listen, little stupid man, that is exactly what the man that you are out campaigning for has done. And this little old stupid man that you're campaigning for has not only ruined our country, but he has set the world on fire, and he has made life unaffordable for 89% of Americans. My dog is a little wound up this morning, as you can tell. You can see her flying around with her toys and squeaking them. So I apologize for the noise in the background. Anyway, so it's just hard for me to believe that Robert De Niro is the guy that they picked to come out there, right? I mean, he's been on the stage at award ceremonies saying really disgusting, nasty cuss words at Trump and calling him all kinds of vile names. But, in all honesty, he does represent the Democratic Party well, right? I guess that is the spokesperson for the Democratic Party. Evil, disgusting, and incompetent. That's a great way to describe the Democratic Party. So I guess Robert De Niro is the best guy to be out there talking. Oh, I want to tell you a little funny story about my dog. So Bella is a border collie, and she has a very strong herding instinct. And I am the person that she has chosen to herd around the house. She doesn't do this to the grandkids, doesn't do this to anybody who comes over, but she watches every move I make. When I get out of bed in the morning, my feet hit the floor. She's right there biting at my ankles, trying to tell me where I need to go. Stands at the doorway in my bedroom, waiting for me to, get out of there and get down the hallway because she's got stuff that she has lined up for me to do for the day. And I just want to show you. This is her. This is what she's doing a lot of the time when I'm on this podcast. Checking out, looking out the front window. She has to know what's going on around her at all times. So I started putting border collies herding sheep. I looked it up searched it on YouTube. And so I start showing her videos of this, and she has gotten so into the TV, and I've posted some of them on my Facebook page, but some of the videos. But when it comes to cows, there's a whole different Bella that comes out in her. She isn't too keen about cows. But there's this one video in particular that this cow is being real obnoxious with this border collie. And the border collies bite the cows in between the eyes on the tuft up here to get them to go and do what they want. So this one cow just keeps trying to butt the border collie. And Bella just puts her feet up on the TV stand and just goes after the TV towards the cow because she doesn't want the cow hurting the border collie. Anyway, it's pretty funny. And so, yeah, I've been posting those videos and people are getting a kick out of it. A lot of people were saying, I've been told dogs can't even see the TV because it's two-dimensional. But she watches TV. And the minute she sees that arrow go across the screen, knowing that it's the YouTube app that I've pulled up, she knows mommy's going to put something on there for her to watch. So it's pretty funny. But she's been a kook this weekend. We get irrigation. I get irrigation every 2 weeks here on my property. And it ends up being about 12 inches deep of water, which is a huge money saver here in Arizona in the summer because we don't get it like from December to March. And so it's not in the wintertime, but it's in the summer, and it costs me a little over $100 a year to water my yard. And I've got a pretty big yard on my house, but if I use the sprinklers and use city water, and that's how I watered my grass here in the summer, my bill would be over $100 a month just for the water. So it's a huge savings, but every time I'm opening the port and allowing the water to come into my yard, because it's a big screw on top and the water comes out from a pipe underneath and floods my whole yard, I've got to put the doggy door up because this border collie, Bella, she loves to jump out in the water and come after me and herd me as I'm trying to open the port and walk back with my irrigation boots on and get back on the patio. She's just chasing me all around. So as it gets hotter and hotter, I usually bring her out the door and shut the doggy door and let her go ahead and run around the yard and get in the irrigation. And then I get her all dried off before we let her get back in the house, let her get cooled off. But anyway, yeah, Laura, a lot of dogs think they're the boss of everybody, don't they? And then, I've got another rescue, Nibbles, who's my lab. I think she's got some pit bull in her, but she looks more like a black lab, and she's so docile and so calm. She wants nothing to do with the TV, and she thinks that Bella's a pain in the butt. And she's just my love bug. But yeah, Bella has really brought a lot of craziness into my life. And actually, when I bought her from this woman, she would only meet me at the park. And the woman really didn't speak that good of English. So I know they brought these dogs across the border from Mexico. I think there's a racket with them doing that, but I wanted a border collie, and I just fell in love with Bella. Within 3 days of bringing her home, she had parvo, and it was thousands and thousands of dollars to save her. She was in the vet hospital for days, and I remind her of that quite often. You do realize you're lucky you came home with me, because I know the whole rest of that litter of pups probably died. They just let them suffer and die from parvo, because if one puppy has it, they all have it. So Bella's a very lucky dog to be in this house, because my dogs are spoiled rotten. I don't know how many of you have spoiled rotten dogs, but mine are really spoiled rotten. So yeah, that's the Bella update. And now y'all know what's on this side. It's the window out to the front of my house, and that's where Bella spends a lot of her day. If she hears anything out front, that is where she's going to go and look and bark and make sure that she keeps me safe. So I don't know if all of you were aware that the WHO was having a meeting today, and it was about the I'm going to share this with you. This is pretty scary stuff. So after negotiations on a pandemic treaty stalled, concerns about how the globe deals with the next big viral threat will linger over the World Health Assembly that opened on Monday. The big picture, 2 years of talks about how countries could better cooperate on future pandemics, failed to produce a draft treaty in time for the World Health Organization annual meeting. So basically what they wanted to do, and of course Biden, ding dong Biden, was going to go ahead and participate in this and sign this. And turning authority over to the WHO is one of the worst things that you can do as a country. But of course, Biden was going to jump on board. It's now for this World Health Assembly to decide what that way is, meaning the solution is in your hands, said WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I don't like him. Just take a look at him. Just his face makes me, I don't know. There's something about him. I listen to my gut a lot nowadays, folks. I can look at a person and feel that they aren't a good person. The WHO could grant treaty negotiators more time, he told them, and he expressed confidence a pact could still be reached. But negotiators were hung up over requirements for countries to quickly share genetics, sequence data, and pathogen samples, as well as how much vaccine and treatments rich countries would have to share with poorer countries. Countries in the next week could also take more immediate steps to improve pandemic preparedness by agreeing to changes to the international health regulations, which dictate how countries respond to outbreaks. So they're overstepping their authority. They're wanting to have the authority that's needed inside of many, many countries to be able to say, we're on lockdowns. Nobody can be around each other. This pandemic is worse than COVID-19. We cannot give this organization authority over our country. There are the World Health Organization, folks. That is all they are. They are not part of the American government, the federal government. They are a World Health Organization. They're no better than the CDC. And when you've got these power-hungry mongrels that are in charge of this sort of thing, and they want to just set up rules and take away rights and get treaties and sign things that allow us to exert our power over your citizens, those are the types of negotiations that they're trying to put together. That's why we need somebody like Trump in office who understands the dangers that these types of things present, and we have to stop them. We can't allow these people to do this to us. Every single day I'm reading about one or more of our freedoms that's going out the window, or that's in danger of going out the window. You know, this WHO organization is no better than the WEF and George Soros. So pay attention, keep track of this. And, occasionally if you're just sitting around and you got some time to do some research, or you're on your phone, check out the WHO Pandemic Treaty. And it'll come up on your Google search, and you'll be able to read about this. Get yourself educated about it so that you can talk to your neighbors and friends and family and tell them this is the worst thing that could happen. We got to make sure this type of thing doesn't happen. We have to make sure that this doesn't happen on a local level, not regarding the WHO, but on any of these types of restrictions or authority that they want to have over the citizens of a state, of a city, of a county. We have to stop allowing this type of power to be given to any organization. So pay attention, because they're going to be trying to really push this type of stuff heavily, especially before the election, because they know that Biden's going to be out of office, and Trump's going to come in there and write everything and put a stop to all this madness. And hopefully this time, Trump is going to be able to pull off getting the United States out of the United Nations. All these types of things that are bad news for us. We're part of the United Nations, and they don't listen to us. Of course, we don't have anybody in the Biden administration going to the United Nations to say, you have got to stop funding the invasion of America now. Or, we're going to do this, or this. America isn't looked at in the United Nations now as a strong country that has a leader with the backbone. The United Nations is pouring millions, if not billions of dollars into this invasion. The United Nations and a bunch of other NGOs and organizations, non-governmental organizations, are involved in building that bridge in coming from Colombia up into the Darien Gap across that river. It's like super, I've seen pictures of it. It's super wide dirt road now. And there's basically a road, a dirt road. It's not just a path anymore. It's a road that goes through the jungle, the Darien Gap. And they're saying that this is going to become a superhighway. So if you have them down there in the middle, at the beginning of a jungle, building a cement bridge over a river, which again, the United Nations is funding all of this, you know that it's only a matter of time before they bring in gravel, before they bring in asphalt, before they do something to make this much easier. And then there'll be little, drink stands and hamburger stands on the side of the road in the middle of the Darien Gap, because my goodness, the United Nations needs to make sure that these people are taken care of. When, a hamburger in the middle of the jungle is going to cost them probably $50, because all they do is rape these people of their financials, the money that they have, on top of raping them physically. And who knows, maybe the United Nations will put up some rape shacks. Let's just make it easy for these criminals to do everything that they're doing, right? It disgusts me how these organizations, or like the United Nations, they try and claim like they care about human lives. They're trying to put sanctions on Israel because they're bombing Palestine, trying to eradicate Hamas. And they're wanting to put sanctions on them for that. Who's going to put a sanction on the United Nations for funding this terrible invasion and making and putting the responsibility of all of these deaths of these people making the trek through the areas that they've put out the booklets and telling them this is a way to go? Go here, go there, go here, go there. How many lives lost are going to hang over the heads of the United Nations and George Soros and his organizations that contribute to this? How many of these women raped along the way can sue them and hold them responsible? You told me this was the safest route to go. This is where you told me to go. This is where your people shoved us and said, here, go here, and then go up there, and then go through the jungle, and then go through Mexico, where there's, evil, disgusting cartel who may rape you, who may kill you, who may extort you, but that's the way to go. When are these people going to be held responsible? It doesn't seem right that they can continue to do this and all of these people become collateral damage. Just as my son Brandon and Laura's grandson Fernando became collateral damage. And Kayam Michael's son Brandon, Representative Kayam Michael down in Florida, Angel Mom too, her son became collateral damage. Brian Terry, Border Patrol agent, he became collateral damage, not only with open borders, but with Obama and his Fast and the Furious gun sales, which has never been solved, which has never been opened up, which has never truly been exposed for what Holden and Hillary Clinton and Obama and all of them did. It's never been exposed. Sealed forever. American people aren't allowed to see it, just like the FBI thought the American people would never see the order from the Department of Justice saying lethal force can be used as you go down to Mar-a-Lago and plant these boxes of classified documents in Trump's personal residence because we don't think we have enough to get them on. And if anybody tries to get in the way, then shoot them. And by the way, shut down all their security cameras, get Secret Service off the property, get all of his personal security off the property so that you're able to pull this off. Never thought they'd see the light of day. Same with Fast and the Furious. This is how the Democrats operate, folks. They're slimy, they're liars, and they don't care who dies in their path to greed and ego and power and greatness. They don't care. It's scary stuff to think about what our country's becoming, honestly. Scary stuff to think about the people crossing the borders who aren't vetted. And let me tell you, this is a really scary thing. So they have Middle Eastern men coming across, and there was a bunch of them. And I can't remember if it was down there in Southern California outside of San Diego, or if it was in Arizona by Yuma. One of those two locations. There was an independent journalist down there in the middle of the night, well, and some during the day. I think it was during the day that this particular incident happened. But it was because it was getting hot and they were getting tired of waiting for Border Patrol to show up. So these Middle Eastern men and these Chinese men who were down there, they get on their phones and they call Uber. And Ubers come down to the border, and these guys, Middle Eastern and Chinese men, get into the Ubers and drive away. This means that Border Patrol never processed them. We will never know who they are. And what are their intentions in the United States? China and the Middle East. Gee, what could go wrong with those kinds of guys entering our country, right? Undetected, unknown. It's wrong, folks. We've got the wrong people in office. We've got the wrong guy heading the Department of Homeland Security. A Cuban immigrant himself who is showing unbelievable leniency towards Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua. And now he's been told, he knows how many Chinese nationals are coming over our border. He knows how many Middle Eastern men are coming over our border. And he does nothing. Because this is what he had planned all along. They are patient types of people. You know, these criminal type minds, and what he had planned and how he worked himself up through the ranks. I'm talking about Mayorkas, being Deputy Secretary of Department of Homeland Security under Obama, being over at USCIS, and then finally making his way as a Secretary of Department of Homeland Security under Biden. He knew exactly what he needed to do. He had run the gamut through the whole system. And I'm sure he was writing, had a journal of how he was going to pull this off, working in all of these positions before he finally got to be the secretary. And that slimy dog can go in front of Congress and lie every single time that he's questioned. I don't know. The border is secure. We do have the border under control. Listen, guy, you don't have the border under control when you have Middle Eastern men and Chinese men calling Ubers to pick them up at the border because we don't have Border Patrol agents down there to process them. And even if we did have Border Patrol agents down there to process them, they're not vetted properly, because we've already seen, I've been reading tens and tens of articles about these criminals, especially from Venezuela, who are getting across our border. They're being apprehended by Border Patrol, given the flimsy little vetting that they do. They look in their database, and if they don't find their name, they're like, okay, well, you're not in here. You're good. Bye. Have a nice life. That is not proper vetting. And I'm reading tens and tens of these articles where these are violent criminals who've committed rapes and murders in Venezuela, in Chile, in Mexico. There's a woman that they just arrested who had committed a murder in Mexico, and the Mexican authorities finally realized where she was, sent American authorities to go get her. They got her and sent her back to Mexico to face her crimes. She had murdered her boyfriend down there is what it was. And her boyfriend's mother saw it all happen. So it's a shut case, down there. And of course, that woman won't see the light of day, will she? Because they have a legal system down there that actually punishes criminals. Americans wouldn't go down into Mexico and commit crimes because you know what's going to happen to you. But Mexicans and people from all over this world know that they can come to America and commit a crime and don't do that again. That's all that happens to them. Sure, they're coming to America for a better life than what they're used to, for being punished for their crimes. In America, you don't get punished for your crimes if you're an illegal. Just read an article about a guy who had committed 10 different crimes before he's finally being held now. And this is common, folks. This is happening all the time. This isn't just a one-off. I'm going to bring this up. Sorry, I got to find the article here. All right, I'm going to share this with you. Sorry, I look like heck this morning. I didn't have time to do my hair. Okay, migrant gets arrested for the 10th time in 10 months. This is in Chicago. He's Carlos Villoria, a resident of the Standard Club Migrant Shelter in downtown Chicago. He has been arrested 10 times since arriving in Chicago last summer. And he was consistently released from custody after each arrest, but that ended with the 10th case, his first felony, and he is currently living in the Cook County Jail. These guys shouldn't be allowed back out on the streets if they steal a candy bar. That's it. You're an illegal. You stole a candy bar. You're out of here. His first arrest came last July when he was accused of stealing 10 Major League Baseball hats, watches, a backpack, and food worth a total of $193 from Walmart. A judge issued a warrant for his arrest, and when he failed to appear in court the next month, but he wasn't on the lam for long. The following day, Chicago police arrested him after security at Macy's claimed he attempted to shoplift $158 worth of T-shirts. The following month, he was detained for allegedly possessing a crack pipe in the Loop. Prosecutors dropped the charge, but folks, a judge ordered the officials to destroy the crack pipe. Okay, like you can't go get another one for $5 or for free. He received 7 days for the Walmart case, but prosecutors dropped the other two matters. So the Macy's and the crack pipe were two matters that they dropped. On November 24th of last year, he was arrested for shoplifting and narcotics possession at Nordstrom Rack. But prosecutors dropped those charges less than 3 weeks later. And in February of this year, police arrested him twice, the first time for allegedly shoplifting at the Walmart in Evergreen Park again. He never showed up in court, and a warrant had been out for his arrest since May 3rd. Later that month, Chicago arrested him after a convenience store clerk in the Loop reported that he pulled a gun on him and said something like, "I will shoot you." Officers found that inside a different 7-Eleven, he had a gun-shaped cigarette lighter, and prosecutors dropped that case less than a month later. And on April 11th, they tased him after he allegedly ran from them twice and resisted arrest when they tried to detain him for stealing two 23.5-ounce Four Loko from a downtown convenience store. I don't know if it's booze or what. His 8th arrest came on April 19th when a security guard told him he was not allowed inside the Walgreens, and he entered anyway. Prosecutors dropped that case on May 14th. Arrest number 9, that was on April 27th at Pritzker Park. The police say he was selling men's clothing without a permit. That brings us to arrest. Oh, and that prosecutors dropped the case the next day. And that brings us to arrest number 10. It happened on May 15th at Pritzker Park. Cook County sheriffs arrested him for several shoplifting cases filed by TJ Maxx, according to court records. He pushed, struggled, and fell to the ground with one of the deputies, and a second deputy suffered harm and hand injury. In addition to felony aggravated battery of a peace officer, he was charged with resisting, reckless conduct, and shoplifting merchandise worth $450 from TJ Maxx. And those thefts occurred on April 9th, the 25th, April 30th, and May 7th. The judge issued a ruling allowing his release under electronic monitoring. And so far, though, that has not happened. So this is what I'm saying when I say these illegals know that they can just keep committing crimes. Nothing's going to happen to them. after everything that had happened to him, he goes ahead and does some more shoplifting on April 9th, April 25th, April 30th, and May 7th, $450 worth. Because why? Because nothing happened to him all the other times that he was arrested. And this is what's going to get completely out of control in this country. This is going to be happening on a more frequent manner. I never thought that I'd see the day when I'd watch something like this happen. And I'm in Ulta the other day checking out at the register, and I'm looking at the front door because this car pulled up out front. Well, this was about a month or two ago. A kid in a hoodie came up to the front door, kind of came in hurriedly, and it was around Mother's Day. And they had like all these displays of, like gift boxes and certain things. And he went straight to this big tower shelf thing and grabbed like 5 of the gift bags that had perfume and all kinds of stuff. They were pretty expensive. He grabbed 5 of them and went out the front door pretty quickly and got into the vehicle and left. And the girl at the register, one of the girls, she pulls up her mic and says, "Somebody just stole something. They just ran out of the store," and went back to the register. And a manager comes sauntering up front, sloppy looking manager dude. And he's like, "Where?" And she's like, "Well, they already left. They went out the front door and they drove off." And he's all right. He's like, "All right." And turned around and went back. Well, what kind of security or caring is this? And this is the exact attitude of why these illegals are doing this. There's no consequences, folks. Now, I can guarantee you that if you or your brother did that at an Ulta store and you're an American citizen, you're going to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But if you're an illegal in this country, you're going to be given chances, 10 chances to be exact, right? Like that illegal in Chicago, 10 chances till he finally hit and injured a law enforcement officer. Then they finally took notice and decided to put him in jail. But of course, you've got a judge in Chicago who says, well, this guy could be released. Just put an ankle monitor on him. You don't think this dude's going to cut the ankle monitor off? Of course he is. These people could care less about what the laws are in our country. And they're going to be becoming more and more desperate because guess what? America's running out of money to support these people. They're not going to get all the freebies that they're used to getting. And so they're going to start slapping more people on the streets in New York, stealing wallets, stealing iPhones, stealing watches off your arm. Who knows? Breaking your arm and kicking you out of your own car so that they have a vehicle to drive around. It's going to continue to get worse. It's not going to get any better. It just makes me so mad. I can't even tell you all the articles that I read about all this illegal crime that's happening. An illegal alien. And these are crimes against our citizens, our children. Crimes against our children. An illegal alien abducted a girl from Louisiana and took her all the way to Virginia. He was caught in Allegheny County in Virginia after allegedly abducting an underage girl from Louisiana. He was arrested and charged with abduction, indecent liberties with the minor, and assault and battery for kidnapping her from Louisiana and taking her about 1,000 miles away to Virginia. The girl called the police around 4 and asked for help at a Love's Travel Stop gas station. And when they arrived at the scene, they found the girl as well as the illegal inside a 4-door sedan with Arkansas plates and registration. She was abducted in Louisiana and was being held against her will. He was arrested at the scene and she was taken to a nearby hospital. He was put in Allegheny County Regional Jail and an ICE detainer was placed on him. You know, what happens to him now is going to be the big story. Are they going to cooperate in Virginia and allow ICE to, first of all, he needs to go to trial. They should not deport this creep until they have had a trial. And unfortunately, this is what happens a lot for angel families. They catch the perpetrator of the crime against an innocent American victim, rape, murder, whatever. And this was happening a lot, unfortunately, because the system was working so well under Trump that a lot of times ICE would get a hold of these criminals and they would immediately be deported. And of course, we had much better border security at the time, but things were happening a little too fast. Pierce Corcoran, who was killed, his killer was, and they were getting ready to go to trial, and his killer was deported, and so he wasn't present for his trial. Now, has he come back to the United States? Probably under another identity. And this has happened with a couple of angel families that I know, that the person who killed their loved one was deported prior to the trial happening. Now, deportation is exactly what should happen to these people after they've served their time. But those people need to feel the punishment for what they did in the United States against an innocent American life. Whether it was for raping a woman or a child, they need to spend, 20 years in prison. Whether it was for killing an innocent American, go spend your decades in prison, like an American citizen would for killing another American citizen. They need to feel the wrath of the punishment for what they did, because when they kill somebody and they're taken into custody by ICE and they're deported out of the country, they don't feel the punishment. They haven't been held accountable for what they did. So they'll come right back over. Oh, big deal. I killed somebody and they sent me back to Mexico. I can go back next week. That's just not the right message, I don't think, to be sending to these illegal criminals. So that's one thing that I'm going to have a discussion with the Trump administration to make sure, and I've got a very tight, good relationship with Tom Homan. I'm going to make sure that he understands the American victims need to feel that justice has been served, and deporting them, these illegal criminals, before a trial is not the way for a victim's family to get closure, when in essence, it's like looking over your shoulder, not knowing when this person's going to show up again. Because with the sad state of affairs that our border is in, these people are going to show up again. They'll just come in under a different name than what they used last time, or whatever name they gave when they were booked for the crime and arrested by ICE. They'll come up with a new identity. Heck, they got professionals down there in Mexico who can do any kind of ID that you need: fake birth certificates, driver's license, social security cards, passports, anything you need. They got it taken care of down there in Mexico and in other countries along the way as they're coming up through South America. So that's not going to stop these people at all. I just want to see. Roosevelt Hotel. Oh, here's a good one. I want to share this with you. So this guy who East Midtown, and this is in New York, Roosevelt Hotel could be migrant free by the end of 2024, sources say. So it's been 1 year since the city turned the once proud Roosevelt Hotel into what we once termed a migrants theme park. New York City Health and Hospitals executive Dr. Ted Long cheerfully refrained to Spectrum News last week a claim he's made before, that the hotel is the new Ellis Island, where migrants can get hot meals, help with asylum paperwork, medical care, and health screenings. That's the PR, but the reality is often squalid creep show in the heart of commercial East Midtown, and residents who aren't always comatose camp out at the East 45th and 46th Streets, on the streets between Madison and Vanderbilt Avenues, seemingly uninterested in the hotel's warm and welcoming facilities. Most of the building's storefronts are empty. More of the building storefronts are empty than filled. Retailers have fled from the rampant shoplifting, harassment of customers, and doorfront urination. But there might be hope. The Roosevelt Hotel's owner, JLL was tapped by the Roosevelt's owner, the government of Pakistan, to evaluate the property's potential for large-scale mixed-use development. Although the city paid Pakistan $222 million to lease the hotel as a migrant center for 3 years, we might not have to wait until 2026. You're telling me that the government of Pakistan owns a Roosevelt Hotel? All right, this is news to me. I mean, I'm glad I shared that article with you, but this isn't the article that I was wanting to share. Here, this is it. We're getting towards, we have 3 minutes left of this show. So, former hotel worker reveals why hotels are loving New York City illegal immigrant shelter program. So, the hotel rooms obviously have gone up. The shelter program is seen as a factor in the shortage of hotel rooms for tourists and other travelers, said Carlos Arellano, a former hotel worker, said the owners are loving this because the money is just going around and around. When you walk into hotels to work at them, the main hotel staff is not doing anything. They're standing around, but yet they are still charging the city for any little thing they can. And this is what he told Fox and Friends. When you see 10 workers on the first floor of the lobby of the hotel, these are these migrant hotels, only 2 of them are really working. Meanwhile, the hotel will still charge the city for all 10 staff members. And you really don't know what's going on in there until you work in one of these places. But the costs just keep being driven up by the hotels. I like to tell people when you see someone like a politician on the news saying, oh, we regret this, we wish this wasn't happening, it's all lies. Everything from the politicians to the owners of the hotels, everybody is loving this because the money is just going around and around. The hotels receive anywhere from $139 to $185 per room per night for sheltering migrants, whether or not the rooms are occupied. So Democratic Mayor Eric Adams announced a number of budget cuts in November, including closing libraries on Sunday and freezing hiring for the New York City Police Department as part of the efforts to address the cost of housing migrants living in the city. And yet this is how this money is being spent, which we all know anytime something like this goes on, the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are making bank, folks. These hotels are making bank. And now to learn, which I never even knew this until I just read that article live on air here, that the Roosevelt Hotel is owned by Pakistan. And this is the kind of money being paid to them. It's sickening. We are at the end of my show. I've gone a little long. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about today, but 55 minutes has gone by quickly. So love you all. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you again tomorrow. And Bella says bye.